No one in film history has left a mark like Roger Corman. His relentlessly efficient approach to movie making and sharp business sense made him a force to be reckoned with, and he was a mentor to many of Hollywood's most noted figures. Though his career spanned hundreds of films in a multitude of genres, few are as beloved as the science fiction and horror flicks of the 1950s and 60s, which helped define the genre landscape and have influenced fans and filmmakers ever since. To celebrate what would have been Corman's 100th birthday, we'll look at a small but monstrous sampling of his legendary body of work. I'm Tyler Martin, and this is Monsters from the Id. Our first offering is 1956's It Conquered the World. A classic cheapie in the signature Corman mold, it stars Peter Graves, Lee Van Cleef, and Beverly Garland in a small sci-fi story with some big ideas. Dr. Paul Nelson is overseeing the government's latest satellite launch, while his friend, fellow researcher Tom Anderson, opposes the project. Suspiciously, the satellite veers out of orbit for no clear reason. Tom claims to have made contact with an alien from the planet Venus, and Paul, as well as Tom's wife Claire, assume him to be delusional. But things begin to change when the satellite crashes back down to Earth, and we learn for certain that Tom's Venusian friend is very real, having hitched a ride on the satellite. The alien plans to take over the Earth using mind control devices planted by artificially made bat-like creatures. Believing in its promise to bring peace to the Earth by eliminating emotions, Tom continues to abet the creature's scheme. Paul's protracted efforts to get to the bottom of things finally lead him to the terrible truth. He pleads with Tom to reconsider the value of humanity, and his trust in the Venusians' plainly diabolical plot. Despite her disgust, Claire's love for Tom will not allow her to give up on him, and she takes it upon herself to seek the creature out and kill it. Tragedy follows, and Tom finally relents, sacrificing himself to rid the world of the menace he had mistakenly invited. A memorable anecdote from this typically rushed production involves the Venusian, a somewhat notorious creation by Corman's go-to monster maker, Paul Blaisdell. Hailing from a planet with high gravity, it was reasoned that the alien should sit low to the ground, but leading lady Beverly Garland, playing Claire, wasn't impressed, saying,
"So, you've come to conquer the world, have you? Well, take that!"
Whereupon she kicked the diminutive invader in the head. Corman took the hint and had the monster hastily rebuilt to appear more imposing. However, It Conquered the World isn't as bad as the less than spectacular creature might have you believe. It's convincingly acted and creatively directed. Straight-laced Paul is a prosaic hero who spends a lot of time driving around, but he gets some choice moments which Peter Graves imbues with appropriate weight. The real pivotal character is Lee Van Cleef's Tom, who truly seems nuts at first, until the truth is revealed. Melodramatic scenes of the building tension with Claire lead to a convincing climax. Though the script by Chuck Griffith and Lou Rusoff is very talky, the anti-authoritarian theme is compelling and still relevant today. Working on a budget and shooting schedule that would have made lesser filmmakers weep, Corman displays a knack for clever direction that keeps things from getting stale. And with the help of a devoted cast and crew, he manages to craft something worthwhile out of what could easily have been an unremarkable feature. Next up is the fondly remembered Attack of the Crab Monsters, produced the following year. Richard Garland, husband to the previous film's Beverly Garland, headlines along with Pamela Duncan and Russell Johnson in this inventive spin on the mutant monster formula. A team of scientists and sailors arrive on an island in the Pacific to investigate the sudden disappearance of a research party that had been there to study the effects of a nearby nuclear test. Before even reaching land, one sailor falls into the water and is somehow decapitated. Once the scientists have settled in, most of the other sailors depart, but their plane explodes. The mystery continues to build as the now stranded group begin to hear the voices of the previous research team calling out to them in the night, but are unable to find them. Eventually, the cause becomes clear. The radiation has turned a pair of crabs into super-intelligent giants with strange and terrifying powers. They consume not only the flesh of their victims, but their minds as well, absorbing their knowledge and personalities. The crabs can communicate telepathically, and, by some means, they are causing the island to sink piece by piece into the ocean. What is more, the monsters aim to procreate, one of them being a pregnant female. Through a combination of wit and luck, the male of the pair is killed by a stalactite dislodged by an explosive. but its mate proves a tougher customer. It is discovered that electricity is the crab's key weakness, and the only 3 survivors, biologist couple Dale and Martha, along with technician Hank, struggle to find a solution as the island continues to collapse. Finally, at the cost of his life, Hank brings a transmission tower down on the second crab, saving his companions in the nick of time. With its novel premise and singularly blunt title, Attack of the Crab Monsters proved to be a significant hit. Corman instructed screenwriter Chuck Griffith to imbue every scene with suspense or action, and on this score he delivers. Scarcely a moment goes by without something significant taking place, and the idea of intelligent telepathic monsters, as opposed to the usual mindless brutes, is rather inspired. On the other hand, a few other interesting ideas are introduced but never really explored, which undermines things a bit. Having been intrigued by Jacques Cousteau's The Silent World, Griffith offered to direct the underwater scenes himself. Shot at Marineland, these sequences aren't likely to be confused for real ocean footage, but they serve the story just fine. The titular critters are an odd-looking pair of papier-mâché and aluminum constructions inhabited by actors Beach Dickerson and Ed Nelson, future star of Peyton Place. Corman and cinematographer Floyd Crosby establish a strong atmosphere from the get-go, and these efforts, combined with an all-around solid cast, help to make this modest opus worth a monster lover's 62 minutes. Our final pick is a diamond in the rough known as Creature from the Haunted Sea. Featuring Anthony Carbone, Betsy Jones Moreland, and Robert Towne, this quirky comedy was shot in a single week on leftovers from other movies, and it is a humdinger. American secret agent X-150, alias Sparks Moran, tells us of the shady operation he has infiltrated. Amid the Cuban Revolution, American gambler Renzo Capetto is the head of a ragtag gang working with the loyalist General Tostada and his men to purloin a portion of Cuba's national treasury, with which they plan to stage a counter-revolution. But it's a double-cross. Capetto really intends to murder his newfound allies and steal the treasure for himself, blaming the killings on a made-up sea monster. He hadn't counted on a real monster lurking about, which soon throws a wrench in the whole affair. The Cuban loyalists and the gang soon suspect each other of killings which are really the creature's doing. Desperate, Capetto sinks his boat along with the treasure and plans to retrieve it later, but the carnage continues amid mounting mistrust and farcical romantic escapades. It all leads up to an unexpected but fitting finale, which must be seen to be believed. Creature from the Haunted Sea is a textbook example of Roger Corman's philosophy of making movies as quickly and cheaply as possible. The savvy filmmaker had flown to Puerto Rico with a few cast and crew to film the post-apocalyptic sci-fi yarn The Last Woman on Earth and produce a war picture called Battle of Blood Island. Things were going so well that he decided to use the resources on hand to crank out a third movie while he was at it, and the result was the film now under discussion. Corman ordered a screenplay from Chuck Griffith, who recycled story elements from previous films to pen a workable script. Inspired by his own experiences in Cuba during the Revolution, the director made some revisions, and what followed was an off-the-wall comedy which tends to meander, but is kept in focus thanks to Robert Towne's hip narration.
You mean at the time we heisted all those $100 chips? Sure.
I'll admit, I couldn't really hear anything through that door, but I was sure they were up to no good.
The cast and crew all perform admirably despite the minuscule budget and frantic schedule, but having so little to work with, Corman was in a bind when it came to the titular creature. According to actor and crewman Beach Dickerson, "I'm doing sound, and Roger says to me,
'We have to make the monster.'
And I say, 'Yeah, I've heard this before, Roger. I don't know this monster. I didn't have toys as a child. I had a pony.'
The monster's gotta run on land and swim underwater."
Okay, I was half your crab monster, but I have no expertise here. I'm an idiot. I can't change a bicycle tire."
"We have to make it."
I said to Bobby, "What the do we do? The man is serious." We go to Roger. "Okay, Roger." I say, "What kind of budget are we talking about?"
"You tell me, Beach."
"Roger, I'll tell you right now, we are discussing $150 worth of monster."
"You got it."
Well, with Roger, when the chips are down, you do what you gotta do. So Bobby and I have a challenge. Bobby's the one who's getting inside this monster. Now we have to build it. They just wrapped the war picture, so I decided to get 5 helmets and make this giant head. Then we get a wetsuit, some moss, lots of Brillo pads. Then we get tennis balls for the eyes, ping pong balls for the pupils, and pipe cleaners for the claws. Then we cover him with black oilcloth to make him slimy. I mean, we decked him out and he was absolutely glorious. And I must say that son of a he ran on land and swam underwater for the whole shoot. And when it was all over, he went to heaven. Creature from the Haunted Sea may not be Roger Corman's most illustrious production, but it manages to be quite a bit of fun in spite of the odds. Indeed, it held a special place in the director's heart. as it had his favorite ending of them all.
We have always killed off our monsters with fire, electricity, floods, whatever. This time, the monster wins. The final shot in this picture is the monster sitting on the chest of gold at the bottom of the ocean floor. The skeletons of all the people in the picture are scattered around him, and he's picking his teeth. That's it. The monster wins.
This episode is my humble contribution to what I hope will be a widespread celebration of a true cinematic icon. Which Corman classic is your favorite? You can sound off in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share, and subscribe for more Monsters from the Id. As always, thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.